So Chelsea have lost their appeal for their two-window transfer ban suspension, and therefore they are now going to take it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Curtis, for you, is this smack of desperation, or is it a clever tactical move?
No, it's clever tactics all day long, because you take it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, they'll probably get a bit more time based on the history of, Barcelona have had this before, Real Madrid, I think maybe even Atletico Madrid have had this before.
Yeah.
So what's happened with those clubs is they've put in the appeal, they've then been allowed that one window, they've stockpiled players, and then if they've had the ban, they've taken the ban afterwards. But it's easy if you're able to go and spend a lot of money, buy a few players, keep them in, and then obviously you have to go then buy something that you might not need along the line, but Chelsea have got the money to do so, and I'm sure this time they would stay within financial fair play to make sure.
The alleged regularity was to do with signing up younger players, but what would be the knock-on effect, Tim, for you? What sort of problems would it give Chelsea if they can't buy players?
I think it'd be a blessing in disguise, to be perfectly honest. I think they would get an identity to the football club. It'd be very good news for the younger players around, very talented young players, what they've got. A lot of them out on loan, and a few of them are at Derby, and Curtis will know them very, very well. There's always been an argument that the Chelsea players, their young academy lads, it takes too long for them to get an opportunity to play. And I think we've seen that with Callum Hudson-Odoi. When he got in, he's been outstanding. Yeah. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, certainly with him. I mean, he played for England before he played for Chelsea. He's been outstanding. Every time he steps onto that football pitch, he's like a Rolls Royce to me. He gets in anyone's team in the top four. And you've got Christensen who's there. So the last couple of months, obviously, Hudson-Odoi got injured, but the likes of Loftus-Cheek and Christensen have been playing. So I think that is what we're going to see, things like that to come. But because the likes of Eden Hazard possibly wants to leave this summer, will that affect his move? Because they won't be able to bring in a replacement. They've got a lot of loan players there, Higuain, Kovacic, players like this who I don't believe should be at the club anyway. I think they're blocking up pathways of very talented young players from their academy. So it will be good news for the young boys at Chelsea Football Club. Now, would it be a good news for them to maintain what they do on a regular basis, which is win trophies? Now, their fans, it would be interesting to see which way they turn, because if I'm a Chelsea fan, like we talked about winning, I want to win. Yeah. I don't care how we do it. I don't really necessarily care about the young boys. I mean, I do, but as a person. But if I'm a Chelsea fan, are we winning Premier Leagues? Yes. Are we winning FA Cups? Yes. Are we going to be in a Europa League final? Looks like it. Possibly favourites to win it. So it's going to be different. It's going to be a completely different makeup of how they're going to go about running their football club. But I believe it's the correct way for the long-term future of the football club, self-sustained.
And how different a scenario is it for the manager, which is Maurizio Sarri? Question marks about his future. He's already been having to field those. And is he not necessarily the right manager in that scenario? Because we've seen a reluctance to play young players. But if he's got no choice, will we see a different Sarri? Or is he too old, too set in his ways?
He in an interview today, he said he likes young players. I haven't seen the evidence of it. But yeah, it's a, when you're a manager, I've not been a manager yet, but you look at the squad you've got, you look at the potential money you've got to spend and things like that, and he's probably been, before this ban come about, looking at players he can buy for the summer to improve his squad this year. And now, if that's to be taken away from him and he's told, oh, well, actually, you have to play the kids, then as a manager, you've got a tough decision. Do you walk away from a job where you're Chelsea manager? You have got some good kids there, but if you know that this player from wherever, from Juventus or from wherever you're going to sign this player, has had a very good career and he's going to come and he's going to fit in well, then that's a lot easier for you as a manager to take. But obviously, talking about Sarri anyway and saying he might leave, he finds himself in a situation where he's actually third in the Premier League and potentially might win the Europa League. But everyone still thinks he needs to go.
Well, I think there's a bit of respect from the fans, Curtis, but there's not a lot of love for him, is there?
No, I think it's the square pegs in round holes type thing that they don't like seeing Kante, who's the best holding midfielder in the world, playing on the right of a three. And then, like I say, and then when they talk about that, they do talk about, oh, well, no young players are coming through. But they weren't really worried about that before. But years gone by, when they've been winning Premier Leagues and things like that, you've never heard Chelsea talk about young players coming through. They hadn't had players come through since Jody Morris and JT.
Yeah.
So to say it now, because Sarri's in and everything about Sarri ball and all that kind of stuff, seemed a bit redundant.
Tell me, should it be viewed differently, or am I overcomplicating this? Does it need a certain type of manager? Now, if you've got no choice and you've got to play the young kids and you can't buy anybody, that's fine. But does it need a certain type of character to be the coach to oversee their integration?
I think it helps if you've been on a development phase of the kids, like Jody, like Frank.
Yep.
They've had a look at that. I think that helps because then you've got more trust in the young guys. I did it at Tottenham, and when I took over as manager, I already knew. I didn't put them in because I felt I wanted to prove a point. I put them in because I believed in them, and I felt that they were more reliable to do the job I wanted them to do, rather than the 20, 30, 40 million pound players we had sitting on the bench. So I had trust in them, and I think it helps. But if you've seen the development and you've seen the way they grow and you know them as men, then I think it's an easier decision. I think it'd be a difficult one for Maurizio Sarri.
Well, when you have a look, there's actually, they've got a huge number of players stockpiled already, Chelsea. You look at potentially, if you look at tell me, guys, some of the names of these players here who you think, some of them are familiar to us, but look at those players there.
I got told, I heard today that they had 45 players out on loan, which is ridiculous for any club. But obviously, you look at the likes of Morata, doesn't seem to have a future there. That's why he's gone on loan, probably towards a permanent. Bakayoko, who they signed only the year before, he's done well at AC Milan, but does he have a future? I'm not sure. The interesting ones there will be Zuma, who's had a very good season for Everton. I think he could play for them now.
Pulisic is in, we know that, don't we?
Yeah, Pulisic will be back in. Obviously, they've paid 57 million for him. Tammy Abraham will be an interesting one. Obviously, he's gone to Aston Villa in the Championship, scored 25 goals.
Is he good enough for Chelsea now? Because they've had trouble filling that spot, the striker spot.
You need to give him a go. Ultimately, when he's played in the Premier League, he played for a struggling Swansea side. He's been at Bristol City on loan, he's been at Aston Villa on loan. And when he's had those two loans, he's thrived. He's scored about 50-odd goals over those two loan periods. So if he were to be in the Chelsea side, it'd be really interesting to see what he could do. And that's like the likes of, we've obviously got Mason Mount of Fikayo Tomori. Mason Mount will play for England, no doubt. He's been in England squads already. I'm not putting pressure on him by any means, but you can see the quality in him straight away, that when he steps up to that level, he'll just milk it. He'll be brilliant. And that's what I'm talking about. So if Tammy gets the chance there, if Fit gets the chance there, they might have that chance of making themselves Chelsea players by actually playing around with the other players.
The transition's easier. When you play around world-class players on the big stage, it's easier for them to perform. Tammy Abraham has always ticked the box. Wherever he's gone, he's ticked the box. His first loan at Bristol City, hit the floor running, scored goals. Moved to a bigger club, with respect to Bristol City. He's gone to Aston Villa. He scored goals. He scores more goals than Morata, given the same opportunity, in my opinion. How much do they pay for Morata? How much wages will they pay Morata? Afford him the same opportunity as you're doing to the £150 million player. Why shouldn't you? Level playing field. Pep Guardiola does that. He looks up on the training pitch and he says, he's doing it today, I'm going to put him in the team. There are no favourites. You don't look at price tags. You don't look at history. Don't look at what they've done at other clubs. He's judging them every day on the training field if they're doing the job. Now, if Tammy had the same opportunity as Morata, Higuain, he scores just as many or more goals, in my opinion.
As you should.
And cheaper.
Yeah.
And he cares about the club more.
Could be a blessing in disguise. One-word answers, did they go through against Eintracht Frankfurt?
Yes.
Eintracht got beat 6-1 at the weekend. I know there was a lot of changes, but they get beat domestically 6-1. Chelsea go through, without doubt. If he ain't got a brainwave and thinks it's a good idea to leave Eden Hazard out the side.